Hey YouTube, this is my latest trip. Went down to the Outer Banks to do some fishing. I'm there with my buddy, sort of going through some of the different options on bait and tackle and technique to use. We're using gulp shrimp baits, primarily the clear with the chartreuse tail, in the 3-inch size. Also just using the pearl white in 4-inch. So most of this trip was primarily a duration of 2 days, morning and evening fishing periods for roughly, anywhere from 2 to 4 hours at a time. Nothing I caught was unfortunately within the size limit as a keeper. There was one flounder. I didn't get it on camera. That was really good size, but I was a little too anxious in trying to get him to the boat, and didn't have a landing net with me, and tried to pull him in the kayak there, and unfortunately he spit the hook right back out. So other than that, most of what I caught, as you can see here, were really small flounder, maybe something a little bit bigger than the size of your hand, or there was one croaker, and then predominantly just lizard fish that were caught throughout the 2 days. So other than that, I had a good time fishing down there on the Sound. It was my first time fishing on the Sound from a kayak within the Catch 120. Did a great job of keeping things stable. Clearly there you can see it's early morning, so the water was really calm, the winds were calm. As the days got on, the ICW there in the sort of the center of the picture, where you can see the bridge in the background where the boats were going back and forth, the wake they would create. It got to be a little choppy. It wasn't anything too crazy. Again, there was a little bit of water that came over the side of the kayak once or twice and drained back through the holes just fine. So I really wasn't too concerned. Being out there with those other boats. It wasn't in their direct line of path by any means, but it seemed to be pretty safe, and felt comfortable being out there just off to the sides of them as they were running back and forth. Now the water depth here ranged quite a bit. We were anywhere from a few inches of water in the marsh, where you can see I needed to pull the kayak a little bit forward through some of the heavier grasses, to areas where it was 10 to 15 feet deep. So we were hoping to pull some of the larger fish out of those areas. The buddy that I was with, he did catch 2 redfish, so that was promising that that they're sticking around. I never landed one. I was primarily just trying to get used to the tackle, the jigging technique. So being more of a novice in that area, I wasn't really I didn't really luck out to be fortunate to catch one of those. Now the rods and reels that I'm using on this trip are relatively new as well. Both rods I was using were ugly sticks. The one was a medium 7-foot, the other was a medium heavy. The medium I had rigged with a Penn Spin Fisher 3500 series, which predominantly I used, I would say 90% of the trip. The other one I had a Penn Battle 2 and a 4500 series, made it to the ugly stick medium heavy, and it got to be a little too much for, I'd say, fishing out of kayak for the smaller fish that we were trying to land. It was just a little oversized for the trip, and honestly, the medium ugly stick by itself with the Penn SSV, I think was probably still a tad heavy. I'm gonna, I think, break that down and go with a medium light for my next trip. It was just, after an hour or two, your arm and your shoulder sort of started to get a little fatigued with the constant jigging of the shrimp bait on the line, and I think that was primarily just due to just the heavier tackle of the rod and reel setup. So like I said, so hopefully switching to a lighter rod will alleviate some of those problems. Now, I probably won't get back to doing any sound or saltwater fishing till late August. Primarily, this trip was to go down and learn some techniques, bait, tackle, what to do, where to go, what to look for. Sort of just gain some knowledge about how to do primarily your saltwater fishing versus your freshwater. So I've got a trip scheduled near the end of August, early part of September, where I'll be primarily on my own. And I wanted to go down with more experienced fishermen to, tell me, what do I need to do? How do I need to, use a certain jig? What baits should I be using? There's a lot of research that I've done on the YouTube sites, and I started off using bucktails on this trip very early on, and I really didn't have too much success. All the stuff on YouTube seems to have a lot of success with using the bucktails. I was much further south. Those guys are using them much further north. So that's what I started off with, but I just didn't have much success using those. So here again, like I said, it was primarily just a learning trip. I also wanted to, know how to throw a bait casting net. I hadn't done that before, so the few guys I was with showed me how to do that and how to do it properly, on a consistent basis. So I'm eager to, head towards that other trip. In between that later trip, I'd say early September, that's scheduled. Between now and then, I'll probably do a few more freshwater fishing trips, but the saltwater fishing trip I'm more so excited about here when we head back to the Outer Banks. Probably be a little bit further north than where I'm at currently, which was down closer to Emerald Isle. I'll be up more so near the Nags Head area on that shoreline of coast within North Carolina. So that's about it. I have a few more extra minutes here of me sort of paddling around, catching a few fish. Hope you guys like it. But that was my 2-day trip to the Outer Banks. That was roughly occurred over the 4th of July weekend. Had a great time down there. The weather was great. The last evening it did rain on us a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. The other day, the Saturday full day, was complete sunshine. Couldn't have asked for better weather. And then the Sunday morning was also really good weather. A little overcast in the morning, but it held off. We didn't have any rain or whatnot. Again, both times there was minimal wind, minimal waves, and we had a really good time. In addition, I'd say that the tides, we went out, were right about at high tide in the mornings, and we're starting to go out by the time we got there. So from my understanding here again, that's typically when the peak time to do some fishing in is when tide is sort of going out from that high tide peak. So we'll see how things go and progress over the next couple weeks, and then that bigger fishing trip that I'll be down there for a good week. Fishing the Nags Head area, duck, Corolla, Kitty Hawk. There's a few areas I've already located on the map where I'll be going to either doing some fishing from the banks or with my kayak. So should be interesting, and like I said, I'm pretty eager to get out there.